I'm Davy, and I'm awesome! And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review and recommend an awesome movie that you should check out. This week, a favorite of mine and my brother from when we were kids. Made in 1990 and released by Warner Brothers Studios, with executive producer Jim Henson. And sadly, this was the last thing that Jim Henson really had his hands on before he died. And directed by Nicholas Roeg, very unlikely I said that right, and written by Robert Dahl, who also wrote the book, and Alan Scott. Yes, The Witches. Really? Everybody else is doing The Witches because that remake just came out and you're just gonna jump on The Witches bandwagon, get yourself a little views, a little clickbait? Is that what you're gonna do? Yeah, pretty much. The movie opens up with Helga, played by Mai Zetterling, telling her grandson Luke, played by Jason Fisher, all about witches.
They live in ordinary houses and they work in ordinary jobs.
Well, at least they ain't mooching off society. She mentions that witches hunt children. So when her grandson Luke asks if witches have ever hunted her, she shows Luke her finger.
You said it was an accident.
Yeah, the witch was going for her head. Helga tells the story of her childhood friend Erica, who disappeared one day after her father had sent her to go get a liter of milk. I'm an American. I have no idea how much milk that is. And as it turns out, Erica was taken by a witch. Later, after her father was frustrated because he couldn't eat his Cookie Crisp, they all went looking for Erica but couldn't find her anywhere. Like, they searched high and low and they could not find her until one day Erica's father notices Erica in a painting.
There, as if it always had been there, was Erica, locked in the painting.
That's it? They didn't kill her, they just locked her in a painting? You know what, I act like that's not a big deal, but this being in this movie is probably why my brother and I had a irrational fear of Monet's. She tells Luke how Erica used to constantly change positions in the painting. Like, they would never see her move, but out of nowhere, she'd be in a new position. She'd also get older and older and over until one day, she disappeared.
You mean she died?
Yes, Luke, I think that's what she was getting at. Then Luke's parents come to tuck him into bed, as if there'd be any chance of him getting any sleep now.
No more stories, okay?
Oh no.
But then, of course, as soon as Mom and Dad drive away...
Come on, Grandma, just one more story.
All right then, one more.
You know, being a parent is cool and all, but I really can't wait to be a grandparent. That looks like a lot of fun. She then goes on to tell Luke about how witches have a really good sense of smell. They can smell children from miles away. And the cleaner the child, the easier they can smell him. And the smell is repulsive.
Like dogs' droppings.
Which was more than enough reason for my brother to stop showering altogether. Now he just smells like dog's droppings to the rest of us. Next morning, Luke goes into his mom and dad's bedroom, and it looks like they've never been there.
Mom? Dad?
Knock, knock. Who's there? Not Luke's parents! After we get the idea that Helga is taking Luke on and being his legal guardian, she takes him to London to live with her. Though she's German and he's American, and that makes absolutely no sense. Then one day, while Luke is playing in a sweet treehouse, and I'm gonna admit, jealous.
Frightened of, I just wanted to give you this.
Oh, she's a witch!
Perhaps you'd like some chocolate instead.
At this point in the movie, if this movie had been about my wife, this would be the end of the movie.
A big bar of chocolate.
That bar could have saved Harold. Helga finally comes out and the witch leaves. Later, right after Helga gives Luke his birthday present of a couple of caged mice, she faints, and we find out she has a little bit of the diabetes.
I'm sorry for spoiling your birthday for you.
Yeah, it's his birthday. He should have gotten the diabetes. The boy and his grandma set out on a holiday, or vacation as we call it in these here United States. And it just so happens that the hotel they're staying at is also holding a convention for witches. Obviously they don't call it a witch convention. They give it some foo-foo, name of like, we're against child cruelty. Although they're very for it. The Grand High Witch is played by Angelica Houston, and the hotel owner by Mr. Bean. Okay, real quick, I know that his name is Rowan Atkinson, but to me, he will always be Mr. Bean. We also meet Bruno Jenkins, a fat kid who is obsessed with food. Eating because he's fat and therefore he eats. That's all he does is eat. Really original, guys. Brunei original. Later, during tea time, something I think that we should actually start observing here in America. Somewhere a redneck's head just exploded. Helga notices the Grand High Witch, Mrs. Morticia Ernst. Okay, they never actually say her first name is Morticia. That was just for me. Helga recognizes her.
My memory's going, but it's as if I met her before.
Her memory is going. She knows that she knows her. She just can't put her finger on it. Luke goes exploring around the hotel and ends up in the convention room where the witches are having their meeting.
Up front, sit down! Not yet.
Told you she was a witch! The witches all start getting comfortable, taking off their wigs, their masks, their shoes and whatnot. And
Everywhere I look, I see the repulsive sight. Voting little children.
okay, I gotta point something out. This, by far, is creepier, scarier, and much more impressive than this. The Grand High Witch says that she wants every child in England rubbed out, destroyed, eliminated, so the kids in America are safe.
We can't possibly wipe out all of them.
Oh, you don't know what you just did, do you?
Stupid witch who answers back must burn until her bones are black.
What does that mean?
A foolish witch without a brain must sizzle in the fiery flame.
What exactly are you getting at? Yeah!
I hope nobody else is going to make me cross today.
No, I think we get it. The Grand High Witch then goes on to explain her plan of giving all the witches enough money to quit their jobs and open up candy shops and whatnot, with candies poisoned with a formula that will turn every child into mice. She tells the witches that with one dose, it'll take about 2 hours to turn the kid into a mice, giving him a delay. 5 doses or more, it happens instantly. She also mentions that she already gave a kid 1 dose earlier on a sweet and promised him that if he came back in exactly 2 hours, she'd give him 6 bars of chocolate. And the promise of 6 bars of chocolate was actually how I got my wife to marry me.
That lady promised me 6 whole bars of milk chocolate.
Of course. It was the fat kid.
I've come to collect.
And he's ridiculously entitled, which makes me feel a little bit less bad about what's about to happen to him.
We have ignition!
I'll give that a 7. But after the burp, we see the witch's plan in action. Bruno, the fat kid, starts turning into a mouse right before their eyes. But it does raise the question, what happens if a grown-up ends up eating the candy?
So that's just too bad for the grown-up.
Hey!
Smell. Dog's droppings.
They smell Luke, who apparently took a shower today. Luke is able to somehow escape the witches, so while he's running...
Bye-bye.
When I was a kid, G-rated movies could get away with a whole lot more than they could now.
Baby in a pram! Oh!
I don't have a joke with this. This just always made me laugh. Luckily, Luke catches the baby before it goes off of a cliff and continues to evade the witches until he makes it back to his hotel room with his grandma. But the witches poisoned her into a sleep coma just for a bit, enough to get Luke.
My grandma!
An old adversary.
So they never actually say that the Grand High Witch is the one that took her finger, but it is very much implied. The witches get Luke and force the potion down his throat. As a mouse, though, he's able to get away before they squish him, and meets up with Bruno.
This icing is terrific.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, they can talk.
They didn't give me the 6 bars of chocolate they promised.
At least Bruno is focused on the important things in life.
That doesn't mean that I'm good lord.
Okay, I will admit, CGI might have made this a little bit better, the mice talking and everything, but here's the thing. Even with the animatronics of the mice talking and it not being the greatest thing in the world, does it take away from the story? No. The mice boys make it back to Helga's room, and she's awake now, and they are able to explain to her exactly what happened to them. Downstairs, Bruno's dad meets the Grand High Witch and tells her he's a philanthropist too.
You collect stamps?
Bada bing! He says that he's impressed with their charity that helps against cruelty towards children.
For the little children.
I know how she feels to have a phrase be so hard to say that it makes you vomit. I mean, heck, I can barely get through talking about a movie starring Luke. Luke Wilson. Helga and Luke do come up with a plan that does require Luke sneaking into the Grand High Witch's room and stealing a vial of that potion. Luke is able to get it and start heading back to his grandma's room.
Now the question is, what'd she like to look?
How did that not kill him? After he gets back, though, he and Helga decide it's time to go tell Bruno's parents. Helga goes downstairs and meets with Bruno's parents and tells them that their son has been turned into a mouse.
You crackers.
I'm stealing that! They of course don't believe her and freak out when they see mice. The witches are getting ready for their banquet, and...
You are not here to enjoy yourself. You are here as my staff. Go to your room.
You should really be nicer to your staff.
I quit!
Luke goes into the kitchen and notices...
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. As soon as she walks away, though...
Whoa.
And conveniently enough... But soon after this... I gotta admit, that part more than anything horrified me as a child. The witch that's also a cook turns into a mouse, and she runs into the banquet room to try to warn the other witches not to eat the soup. It didn't alarm you at all that the mouse's blood was green? Even though that soup was specifically for the witches and their party, Bruno's dad saw it and demanded a bowl. And just before he eats it...
My bloody soup!
She also finally gets him to believe that Bruno is a mouse.
Hello, Dad.
Okay, just breathe. I got nothing. You?
I got nothing.
The witches start turning into mice. And the Grand High Witch...
Ew.
Oh, you think that's bad?
Ew.
Yeah, but the good thing about that disgusting rat is... Yeah! After Helga and her mouse son Luke get back to their home in London, they receive a package that Luke had sent to them. The package was a big trunk full of money that he stole from the Grand High Witch, with an address book of every witch in America. But there are no witches in America. They make a plan that they are going to go after every witch in America. That night, though, as Luke, as a mouse, is settling into his cozy little mouse bed inside of a big toy building, a good witch shows up and turns Luke back into a boy. Also gives him back his glasses. And his pet mice.
Back home to Luke.
Which is what happens when you are mean to your assistants. They turn good.
Don't forget Bruno!
And it's a happy, happy ending. So there you have it. That's The Witches, the original Witches from 1990. And man, did I love it as a kid. Found out years later that there was actually 2 endings made for it. The original ending, which was more along the lines of the book, where Luke never turned back into a boy, it just leaves with him being a mouse, which is what I hear they're using for the remake ending, and the happy ending. They did both endings and showed it to test audiences, and surprise, surprise, the test audiences liked the happy ending, because they always like a happy ending. That's why we had the happy ending of Little Shop of Horrors, and that's why some other movies, despite the fact that they were great, genius movies, got really severely bashed just because it didn't have a nice happy ending. Yeah, that one! Which just goes to show, if you care about your art at all, forget the test audiences and make the ending that you want to make, because they're always going to vote for the happy ending. It also turns out that Robert Dahl was so angry with them doing the happy ending that he almost made them take his name off the credits because he didn't want to be associated with this movie at all. However, they later did get him to reconsider, but he put it in his will that anytime they do anything based off any of his works again, they are not allowed to change the endings. But whether it was a happy ending or a sad ending, it was ultimately a great movie, one of my favorite movies from my childhood. And of course, they just remade it because they have to ruin all of my favorite movies from my childhood. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of The Witches. If you've seen both of The Witches movies, tell me which one you think is better. I don't care, but tell me. Love you guys.